to Wealth Unleashed, our weekend dose on your journey to financial freedom. My name is Oladipo Clement, and last week we began looking at creating foundation, and we looked at the ABC of creating wealth. We established that creating wealth is as simple BC points. So permit me, please. Thank you for drawing my attention to that. Excellent. So I want to believe that the network is better now, right? If you can hear me loud and clear, please just type 10, just to be sure that you all can hear me. If you can hear me loud and clear, please type 10. Okay, great. So last week we began looking at creating wealth, and I shared a very notable quote by Jim Rohn, where the gentleman said, to become financially free, you must turn a part of your income into capital. He said you must turn capital into enterprise, turn enterprise into profit, turn profit into investment, and then turn investment into financial freedom. So if financial freedom is really your goal, at the end of the day, somewhere along the line, you must turn your income into capital, and that capital must be turned into enterprise. In other words, you must start business or invest in a business. One of the fastest vehicles for multiplying money and creating wealth is really running businesses. Entrepreneurship is very powerful. And then it says, turn enterprise into profit. Then turn the profit you generate from that enterprise, so turn it into investment. And then investment will ultimately give you financial freedom. And we said, creating wealth is as simple as ABC. And so we began looking at the ABC of ABC of wealth creation, okay? And we mentioned the ABC as financial intelligence, financial planning, and financial discipline. Financial intelligence, financial planning, and financial discipline. And so last week we dwelt extensively on financial intelligence, and I wanted to, get into financial planning, but I had to back down so that if I get into financial planning, the content will be too much to absorb, and that was why I decided to delay it till this week. And so, welcome once again to Wealth Unleashed, Kingsley Jacko. Good to see you, my brother. Been a while. So let's talk about financial planning. There are 5 critical questions that you need to ask, when it comes to this subject of financial planning. But before we get there, it's important to also look at the fact that the journey to financial freedom is a journey from where you are right now to where you really love to be. It's moving from point A to point B. And sometimes, like we saw, or like we're going to see later on, the choice of your vehicle is what determines how early or late you arrive at the wealth place. And this is why vehicles of wealth creation is an important subject matter we all must, must master or understand. So there are 5 important questions you must ask in order to develop a financial plan. And these are the 5 things I'm going to share with you. And I truly, truly want to indulge you to pay rapt attention, because every now and again, these questions will help you to map out correctly how to move from where you are, right? And which most of the time are not necessarily desirable to where you really love to be. So the first question you want to ask is, where am I? In order to develop a financial plan, in order to develop plans for your finance or for your financial future, it's important to ascertain your current location. Now, this is a question of location. Where am I? Right? So with reference to your age, to what you own, to what you owe, and to your source or sources of income, you want to be very honest with yourself as to where exactly you are. This is so important. This is so important. A lot of people, this is where they fail. Why? Because the worst form of deception is self-deception. If anybody can deceive anybody, but you can't afford to deceive yourself. And so you have to be damn honest with yourself. And I remember when broke people used to call us broke those days. I recall having a conversation with a friend of mine. In fact, things were already a little better. But I recall having a conversation, and the guy was sharing with me that, he had to take stock of where he was at the time. He was living in a 3-bedroom flat, but it was as though, it was just good for the status, but nothing was really there. So he took stock of what he had and everything he owned at the time. He was deep in debt, and all he could point as asset was he had stove, he had a colored TV, like 16-inch TV, he had a mattress, he had fry pan, and as ridiculous as that may sound, that was his reality at the time. But understanding and being honest as to where he was at the time enabled him to follow some of these other steps I'm going to share with you. So where exactly are you? How old are you now? Are you married? If you're married, what are your obligations? Right? What are your obligations? What are the things that you have responsibilities for? If you have children, then it means if you are the firstborn and you have siblings behind you, probably you have aged parents, or your parents are passed on, most likely those siblings of yours might be your responsibility. So you need to be honest as to where exactly you are. So where am I? The next important question you want to ask is, where am I going? Where am I headed? This is a question of destination. Okay? This is a question of destination. Now, if somebody is to come and visit me where I'm currently located right now, and the person says, so I'm so and so place, or rather, I want to come and meet you, the first question I would want to know is, where exactly are you? Before I tell them where I am. So any map that will ever serve you must pick 2 points: current location and desired destination. And that's exactly why this is so important. Okay? Once your map is wrong, it does not matter the speed at which you are running, you will never get there. So when you have ascertained your current location, which refers to where you are at the moment in regards to your source or sources of income, in regards to your age, obligation, what you own and what you owe, then you now want to say, okay, where would I love to be, or where am I going? So if you are in debt right now, clearly you don't want to be in debt. And even if you are ever going to be in debt, 5 years time, 10 years time, it will be a good debt. All right? It will be debt that the proceeds from that, the application of that debt will not only pay off that debt, but also create a lot of asset and investment and wealth for you. Okay? So you need to design that. So if you are currently on ₦1 million monthly income, which I mean, not many people have ₦1 million income in Nigeria, at least to the best of my knowledge, and you want to now be earning 10 million naira a month in 5 years' time, you describe it. If you are 30 years now, that means in 5 years' time you'll be 35. You need to define exactly where you are headed, and it has to be clear. I hope you are still following me. If you're hearing me loud and clear, please type 5. If you can still hear me and you are still following, type 5. So, where am I? Number 2, where am I going? Number 3 is, how do I get there? Now, this is a question of route, R-O-U-T-E. It's a question of path. What path do you want to follow to get there? There's a career path. There's also an enterprise path. This is what Jim Rohn recommended. this is what he recommended. Now, not everybody will start a business, but everybody will work in a business, and everybody can own a part of a business if that is their priority. So, and so you either work in a business, all right? Everybody will work in a business, whether it's owned by them or not, right? But you can also be a part of a business, and of course, you can also decide to start a business. Okay, so those are pathways to the wealthy place, to financial freedom. So you have to ask yourself, how do I get there? Do you want to use career path where you are aiming to be among the top? You want to be a C-suite executive, because C-suite executives, senior management level staff earn the highest, in most organizations, right? Whether it's corporate, Fortune 500, whether it's a multinational, people who get to that level, not just middle level, I'm talking senior level, they earn, in fact, some earnings that some people make is about the turnover of some many businesses in Nigeria. And some businesses don't even earn as much as what some high net worth individuals earn as salaries. Okay, so how do I get that? You may want to use career path, you may want to use enterprise, you want to use starting a business or running a business or being a part owner of a business. This is a question of rules. So is it career? Is it you want to use investments, or you want to use entrepreneurship? And this is extremely, extremely important. So you define what is important to you. And then number 4, what resources will aid my arriving there? So whether you choose to go the career way, the career path, or you choose to go the entrepreneurial way or the entrepreneurial path, like I shared during the Global Wealth Creation Summit on how to create wealth as an entrepreneur, and then Dr. Olumide Emmanuel shared on how to create wealth as a career person. Whatever path you choose to follow, both of us must still end up investing. So the question is, where would you now be investing? And that's what resources, that's what we mean here. What resources will aid you arriving there? And this is where we talk about the vehicles, all right? The vehicles you want to use, okay? For some people, it will be real estate. For me, real estate business, entrepreneurship. And I do it. I was doing a pocket of stock, and other people's businesses, but I'm focused more on real estate, business, and intellectual property. That's my major one, right? That's the major one that I'm concentrated on right now. So, because these instruments is what will determine how early or late you arrive at the wealthy place. Now, because I'm into business, it's my natural hub, but even as an entrepreneur, you still need to put money in other forms of asset classes. And that's very, 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 very important. Then the final question in order to develop a financial plan is, when I eventually get there, how do I retain and sustain what I have attained? Because if you follow the first 4 steps or answer the first 4 questions and you follow it to the letter, there's no way you will not get to the wealthy place. There's no way you will not be financially free. But the question is, will you remain financially free? And that's the question of retention. And that's what will usher us eventually into the last phase in the framework that I shared with you from inception of this series of lecture. That the first phase in the journey to financial freedom is personal transformation. The second phase is income generation, planning, and application. The third phase is asset accumulation, optimization, and retention. So the question we'll be asking here in your financial plans, what must I, when I get to this destination that I desire, how do I retain and sustain what I have attained? And that's what's going to be the focus of this third phase of this series of lecture. I want to believe that this has been helpful. This has been of great value. If you have any question, please feel free. This is probably one of the shortest sessions I've had in this series. Next week, we'll take it a step further and look into financial discipline. But before I proceed, the top 4 vehicles that will actually give you and fast track your possibilities at achieving financial freedom is capital markets, right? Businesses, starting businesses or co-owning a business with other people, right? One of the decisions I personally made a few years ago was that I wasn't going to be spreading myself. I would stay in my area of strength. Spread myself so thin into many directions. I'll focus on fewer things that I'm good at and then collaborate with other people in their areas of strength. And that became my own decision, all right? Sometime later, I'm going to show you my financial freedom template. So, but starting a business, co-owning a business, part-owning a business, these are all fast and smarter ways of creating and perpetuating wealth. Number 3 is intellectual property. Now, not everybody would be able to play. Not everybody will be able to play in the intellectual property space. But like my mentor would say, everybody has a book inside of them. Every individual has at least one book in their lifetime. You have a story to tell, and your story is yours. So nobody can deprive you or deny you the liberty to tell your own story. Okay? And so intellectual property is a very powerful way. And the beautiful thing about it is that you work once and you keep making money. Okay? And that's extremely important. And then, of course, number 4, which is my own forte, is real estate. Not only is real estate good for creating wealth, it's also good for retaining wealth. I often say to people, you see, all these instruments, all these asset classes are not, they are not the end goal. They are a means to an end in itself. And so it's important to recognize these vehicles so that whenever you are thinking of, okay, this is the route you want to follow, what resources consider any of these things, because any of these 4 vehicles are the top 4 that has helped most wealthy people around the world create wealth. There's hardly anybody who is among the Forbes billionaire list who does not have, so, and I will be talking a bit on trust, on will, on legacy, on transgenerational wealth in the 3rd phase. And then we'll be bringing this particular series of lecture, we'll be bringing it to a close. I want to believe that this has been helpful. I want to believe that this has been of value to you. And so if you have any question, this is the time to ask. So thank you very much, everyone. I'll be taking questions shortly.